Okay, again, good morning everyone. Welcome to the first session this morning. My name is Michael Riffley. I'm working at IDnetics, a Swiss company which is focused on Microsoft infrastructures and solutions. With me is Thomas Maurer. Can you introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Thomas Maurer. I work for the same company called IDnetics, and I'm a Hyper-V MVP, focusing on all that fabric stuff, virtualization, storage, and networking.
Okay, you want to have, when you walk out this session, at the end, of course, hopefully,
good that you mentioned it.
You should have some insights on how to configure Azure Pack installations, how to deploy Azure Pack. Of course, we cannot do a deep dive, but we will show you also some live demos, how easy it is if you know the right pieces to put together. And we will get a sneak peek on the Azure Stack. Who in the room knows or heard about Azure Stack? Oh, quite a few people. Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
So let me show you the most boring slide ever. I think you all have seen that one. Just for those who haven't worked with the Microsoft Cloud Platform Stack or are not in that familiar with that, Microsoft is trying to build that one cloud solutions where service providers, private cloud customers, and Microsoft Azure Public Cloud is all the same thing, it's all the same stack. So the first try was with Windows Azure Pack to bring that together. And if you look at that on the left side, we see Microsoft Azure and how the components work there in the current portal. On the left side, they offered us solutions with Windows Server 2012 and System Center 2012. And on top of that, they developed some solutions for us. They brought the Azure portal for the customers as well as an admin portal in that environment. After that, we share basically the same service management API, which is also in Azure. I say basically because the service management API in Azure does a little bit more than we have on-prem. And then we can also do some of the services Microsoft offers in Azure as well, on-premise. Okay, so just a quick look at the architecture, the things we're going to deploy or we're going to show you right now, how this would look like. So we always got compute, storage, and networking managed by Virtual Machine Manager, which is probably a wrong name for this component. It should be more called like the Fabric Manager or something like that, which would make much more sense.
I know you have another opinion, Didier, but
yeah.
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying anything. Maybe you should try to go to Microsoft. They're always searching for people.
On top of that, we deployed the Windows Azure Pack with all its service management APIs, with all the portals and everything. And between we have the Service Provider Foundation, which is basically a REST-based API between Virtual Machine Manager and Windows Azure Pack, because Windows Virtual Machine Manager does not offer a REST API by default. And then we have several other components which are also needed in a cloud environment, like IP address management and things like that. That's an idea. Okay, and around that we have service management automation to automate all the things we do not really can do by default.
So whenever we are doing live demos right now, think of this picture. If something breaks, it's not our fault. And the guys here, which is basically the colleagues of Hirt, he's not here at the moment, but you can see, if you look close, you can see the guys working.
Are you on the Presenters Wi-Fi? If you're on the Presenters Wi-Fi, it's fine.
Oh, it's everything's fine.
So what I want to show you quickly, really quickly, because I don't want to spend too much time, is how it looks like if you have deployed Azure Pack and how it works and how it looks like for the end customer. So this is the end customer portal, and the end customer port can log into that. And it then already has some of the scenarios or some of the products he bought in that portal. So what you can do today is we can have websites, a website hosting solution. We can have virtual machines, networking, and SQL servers for Microsoft SQL servers as well as MySQL servers. So let me show you quickly how a customer can add something. So if we have a look at the customer itself, you can see he got a subscription, which is by the way called unlimited. Yeah. So you can see how much resource he got. So he can deploy like 10 databases. He has unlimited power for virtual machines and everything. So he can use that. So let me quickly go. If the customer wants to deploy a new database, just go create a new database. Very simply give it a name. Admin name. And okay, that creates really quickly a new database on our SQL Server farm, and we can have a look at it and we get the connection string for that particular database out of the lot. You can also do that for virtual machines. I'm not going to show you that because it needs some time to deploy a virtual machine. We can also do that for networking. We can create virtual networks and all that kind of stuff. So, but that's not the interesting part. We're going to switch back and Michael will tell you how you can deploy that scenario.
In fact, this slide is not correct anymore because the internet is lightning fast. Okay, I prepared something. I have a virtual machine manager and I have at least one Hyper-V host which will host virtual machines for my tenants. And I have a cloud created, named tenants, and in this cloud object, of course, I define which host resources I will be able to use for the tenant virtual machines, which logical networks will be available in this cloud, which type of storage classifications, all the stuff you need to think before you install any components of Azure Pack. As you have virtual machine manager up and running, your stuff plugged together, your virtual networks defined, you're ready to go. So first step is installation of Service Provider Foundation. Service Provider Foundation is on your orchestrator media, System Center Orchestrator 2012 R2. It's called SPF. It has a bunch of prerequisites. And of course, the installer doesn't download all the prerequisites for you, so you have to do that manually. But if you go to TechNet, how to install Service Provider Foundation, you'll find a nice list of prerequisites to download. Of course, I prepared that already, and I'm ready to go. You have to enter a database server to host the Service Provider Foundation database. For now, we're going with self-signed certificates. Of course, you won't do that in production. You define who is going to be Service Provider Foundation manager or administrator. You can add more here or groups here, and you need a service account. Don't go with the network service account here. You will end up in issues. Use the domain user as the service account for all your web application pool services.
Question, Michael.
Yeah, go.
Is it just an ordinary user account, or should it be a domain admin?
No. It's just a regular service account, which is a domain user, not more.
Okay.
It has more permissions on the SPF machine. But it's isolated to SPF machine, and the service account used to connect to virtual machine manager has then to have VMM admin rights, of course. But that's the latest step. I will show you that later. No, not for now. Go. So as Thomas said, SPF is just an interface between Azure Pack APIs and Virtual Machine Manager, because Azure Pack talks REST, Virtual Machine Manager talks PowerShell. So it's kind of a bridge between REST API and PowerShell. That's basically what SPF does.
You mentioned a server where I install this. You can install on the same VMM server or for scalability?
You shouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, in a
For lab environment,
Yeah.
in lab it works great, but you should. Every component we mentioned is basically split on different servers.
And for availability, you can have two
Yeah.
load balancing.
Exactly.
Okay. Like.
and next step is the admin part of Azure Pack. The Azure Pack admin portal and its components. We need to configure Azure Pack components out of the admin portal. How do you do that? You download the Web Platform Installer 5.0. Web Platform Installer is just a small binary. If you launch it, it's an online installation. It takes down all the required components. It installs all the required Windows features automatically. IIS, whatever you need, everything is done in one step. So we go here and search for Windows Azure Pack. We need the admin API of Windows Azure Pack. We need the administration side, of course. And the tenant API. The tenant API is not the API which interacts with the tenant. The API which interacts with the tenant, where the tenant can automate his own subscription, is the tenant public API. This will be on the other machine. Tenant API is something between the admin and the tenant side and the subscriptions. So tenant API, tenant side, no, we are going to configure the admin stuff. We want to also provide SQL as a service, as Thomas showed, so we need the SQL component as well. The admin authentication side. And the PowerShell API. Accept, of course, accept. Don't use Microsoft Update. Don't do that. Install updates for Azure Pack in a defined sequence.
But it's recommended.
It's recommended to update the components, of course, but not automatically. Because you have to keep the stack on the same level. Update VMM, update SPF, update Azure Pack. If you update Azure Pack without updating all the stuff behind it, you will screw the environment.
Don't even need to update.
Yeah, V. They have also green.
Hey now, blue.
Can you turn it off?
It just works. As this is finished, we get the configuration side. The configuration side is always on port 30101. That's the default port for the Azure Pack configuration side.
That's actually one downside of cheap LEDs.
Very powerful.
You put it
Military grade.
Again, I have to enter a database server for the Azure Pack databases. It's SQL Server authentication. Don't try to mess with Windows authentication, it doesn't work. You can use it, but it doesn't work. I need a passphrase. Whenever I want to add components at a later stage, I need this passphrase, so write it down.
Password manager is your friend.
Yeah.
Amen.
I'm of course not yet willing to be part of this. So it's really easy. Up to now, is that hard? No, it's really easy, right?
Easy.
Yeah, we're done. Finish. Exit. I successfully installed Windows Azure Pack admin portal. So we do the same for the tenant portal. I go to the tenant virtual machine. By the way, this is the virtual machine which will be internet facing or behind the reverse proxy, whatever. This is the critical part in terms of security. So that's why we split admin stuff and tenant stuff up to different into different virtual machines. Again, this is a web platform installer. It's a 2 meg binary which you can download and then launch. There is an offline method to install Windows Azure Pack as well if you don't have internet connection. Then you use basically the web platform installer to download the components offline and then tell the platform installer not to search online rather than in a local directory. So we need the tenant side. We need the tenant public API.
It's blurred.
And we need the tenant authentication side. That's all. Again, if this is a plain Windows installation with most recent patches, the web platform installer automatically activates the Windows features which are required for backend services like web services, Windows Communication Framework, and so on. Again, we have the configuration side popping up. We need to attach this tenant stuff to the existing database we created just a minute ago. And here's my passphrase.
Question, why do you use SQL user? Can you not use
No, you can't.
Well, the thing is, if you want to do it right, the thing is you put, for example, the Azure Pack service in a different domain or in different Active Directory forest. In that case, you don't want to have a trust between the different forests. In that case, you use SQL Server Authentication, for example.
In lab you can, but in practical and public environments you can't, because it's not, the tenant stuff is not attached to your productive internal domain where the SQL Server lives. Okay, that's done. So I installed the components, and the first step now is to go to the admin portal. Which is port 30091. This is the default port. I expect a question.
Can we change it?
Yeah, you can change it. Can we change it via any type of GUI? No, it's partial. Oh. I forgot something.
But it's also still what you did wrong.
Shut it down and start it again.
So this is how professional consultants do it, right?
No, that's how he does it. I will show you a way that works much better.
Oh, this is bad. If this happens, this is bad.
Where's bad? Second try?
This is where we'll play the movie again.
Okay, let's do it like that.
Can you turn it off and
Otherwise we'll skip that. Yeah. Okay. We'll skip that. We switched to the installation of Thomas where the
everything
admin
works.
portal is running.
Where things are working, it's
Can we connect here? Let's see, web admin, right? Okay. This is how the admin portal looks like if it would run. If it would run. So the first step is we have to configure the VM Cloud connection. So here we are going to register the Service Provider Foundation server. I'm not going through because I will break the whole stuff, but here you would enter the name of the Service Provider Foundation, we have virtual machine, the service account, and the password. After that, you register the virtual machine manager, you connect your virtual machine manager, and you can see the cloud here. My cloud, it was named tenants, this is customers, and one for management. And the last step then is to create a plan. So I'm going to create a plan. Which services I want to offer in this plan. I only want to offer virtual machines. I want to add an add-on that the user can choose. I want an additional 500 gigs of data drive. And now the plan is created, and where it is. It's not yet there. Okay. The plan for VM hosting looks like this. We have virtual machine class. Here is our VMM. And here we can define quotas for this plan. How many cores, how many virtual machines with this subscription are available to our customers. And so on and so on. From here, we are now on the level we can provide virtual machine and SQL databases as a service. Of course, this is just a quick installation, and I did some preparation before, as I said, but basically, these are those three components. Admin, tenant, portals with APIs, and the SPF, which talks to VM. That's the Azure Pack or private cloud stack in the current version. Okay.
So, as you have seen, there are many steps to do, and Michael did really just highlight a small part of it and what we have to do in this SPF setup and in the Azure Pack setup. But we also, of course, have to deploy SQL Server databases for the System Center components. We have to deploy Active Directory. We have to have many service accounts, VMM, and all that kind of stuff. So that brings me to like two projects we did for customers and for Microsoft. So the first one is called Build CloudOS in one day. This was done for Western Europe, for Microsoft hosting team in Western Europe, and as part of a COSN project. COSN stands for CloudOS Network, which is a circle of hosters which work with Microsoft on delivering Microsoft Cloud services. And the idea behind that was it takes so long to deploy a POC, just a small POC environment. Why not just automate that? So what we did is we created that offering, including Azure Pack, infrastructure service, SQL Server websites, and automation into one deployment, so you can do that. The focus was using a very quick deployment, installing all the components of System Center, SQL Server, Active Directory, everything from the ground up to a full deployment for POCs. So this is only done, nothing is redundant, everything is done for POCs. All the components are in there, and it should take around 5 hours to deploy that. So basically, it takes about 5 hours to deploy it on the hardware. It takes you around 20 minutes to start the script, and then you can go and drink coffees as well. So this is a list of components which are in there, and you can't really see a lot of there, but you have the main controllers, SQL Server databases, virtual machine manager, Azure Pack, all that kind of things. All the components which I already showed you are included in that deployment. As I said, from the deployment, it should be very easy. So we used PDT, the PowerShell deployment toolkit, to do a base configuration of that cloud, and then we could also added some custom scripts to do that. Who in the room is familiar with PDT? All right, perfect. PDT is a PowerShell deployment toolkit. It's developed by someone inside Microsoft to help you automate the installation of things like that. But it's still a lot of work to add some of the components, to add some additional stuff as well. We also prepared all the sources, so you download the package. It's around 25 gigabyte, and you can download that and just run the script and everything works. Here's how we would do it, but I'll skip that for a while. But wait, we have one more thing. So I told you that this is designed for POCs, for proof of concepts. So our company was thinking, and Microsoft Switzerland was thinking, how can we make deployments more, speed up deployments? And that's where we come in out in a box solution we developed for Microsoft. It's basically the same thing, but it focuses on production deployments where everything is highly redundant, highly there, and it helps other partners as well, not just us. So partners in Switzerland are having the chance to get this and deploy that for their own customers. So what we did is, we used the same code as we had before, but we pushed it up and we made it like a PLA, product line architecture, compliant, and we also used the CPS design. So if you're familiar with CPS, the Microsoft Cloud Platform System, they did the whole deployment, the whole stack on Dell hardware, and we used basically the same design they used because we knew that's going to work. So we did the same design on that scenario. The idea is behind that, so a partner can deploy a production cloud for a customer in less than a week. So that's the idea behind that. Including putting all the hardware together, putting all the products together, configuring it, and doing some additional work as well. As you've seen in the CPS, it supports up to 8,000 VMs, and it costs around, I don't know, it's starting at 1.2, 1.7 million, I think. So we tried to scale it down, and the target was we can start at make sense around 100 VMs. So this is our offerings Microsoft created. Basically, it's always the same code. It's just you buy features and stuff like that. It's more or less a feature. Okay, I will skip that one as well. At the end, what the customer gets is a boxed solution. So he will only have access to the portals and to the information he needs. So he can deploy new services, but behind it, he doesn't really need administrator access. He can get that, of course, but it doesn't really make sense. So get all the consoles out there which he needs. From architectural perspective, looks pretty much the same as we showed you. We have the service admin portal, we have the tenant portal, service management API, we have System Center with SQL Server, and all the components under there are, for example, storage spaces, but it also does also work, of course, with all other hardware vendors with fiber channel storage, iSCSI storage as well. So you can, at the moment, you can choose which hardware you're going for. You can build your own hardware solution and run the scripts on top of that. So this is what it looks like when you deploy a cloud in terms of servers, what you need. So you're going to have a SQL cluster with different instances. We're going to run, right now we have designed one first for the whole scenario, for the whole in-a-box scenario. We have Active Directory Federation services to connect outside. We have Operations Manager for monitoring. We have Virtual Machine Manager for the fabric management. And we have the whole Azure Pack stuff as well. So how do you integrate in your environment? You've got that box then in your environment, and you have to connect that with your users, right? So you have different scenarios. You can use RDFS to your existing customer forest to connect to the tenant portal or to the admin portal and use the same login credentials. And with the other way, we could also use it to connect to Azure Access Control, which is an Azure-based service. And from there, you can connect different authentication services, such as Active Directory, other ADFS domains, or you can also use like other online services like Microsoft accounts, Google accounts, Facebook accounts, for example, to log into that system.
Do you use a Google account to log into a Microsoft-based cloud solution?
You can. So it's all you should.
It's Microsoft 2.0.
So I have a couple of minutes, so I will show you a quick thing how the scripts look like. I don't want to spend too much time. So this is the first deployment here. And if you're familiar with PDT, it looks pretty much the same. So we have created some predefined variable XML file. That's where all the logic is, or all the components in there. I will show you that quickly. And then we also have some custom scripts here. This is the POC part. We also have the production part, and here we added some additional scripts like the configuration script, or the configuration part, which imports, for example, SMA runbooks to the automation service. It also configures virtual machine manager based on an XML template, and it does all the stuff for you to get the base setup. So, for example, if you're not familiar with PDT, that's how a variable XML looks like. You have all the component parts here, which define basically all the installed rights or service accounts for the different components for service provider foundation, orchestrator, operations manager, you name it, right? So we did that for different scenarios. If you're interested in that, please contact me. Some parts are free, some parts are maybe not free. I don't have any clue on licensing on that. But let's switch us back to the demo for the future stuff. Okay. So, Michael, you want to go?
Yeah, this is basically the stack we talked about the last half hour. We have System Center underneath, we have Windows Server with all the fabric, fancy fabric stuff, and on top of System Center we have Azure Pack. Now, Azure looks different. And the goal was, in the next version, to make it a single solution, either on premises or in the public version of this CloudStack. Now this is how it will look like on premises within the next version. And the name of this new product, it is a new product, is Microsoft Azure Stack. So Azure Stack is just plain Azure with the same APIs, with the same code base, usable on your on-premises, in your organizations or as a hosting service provider. You can offer the same things, which is not possible at the moment at the same level. You don't have all the APIs Azure has, all the resource provider Azure has. You don't have that now. So, just a quick overview what you will get. You will get the consistency for the tenant as well as for the administrator of this portal stuff. We don't have two portals anymore, we have one portal, we have role-based access control, and if you go into the public portal preview of Azure, portal.azure.com, this is the preview of the new public portal. This is exactly how Azure Stack will look like on premises in 2016. I'll skip this slide because I already told you most of the things here. This is the portal, how it will look like, or how it does look like in the public preview. We don't have any bits right now, nobody does. Some do, but we do not. I can show you anything live here from the Azure Stack, but the public portal is, yeah, go.
One of the biggest issues with WAP was that you had to deploy the very popular virtual machine manager.
Yeah.
Is it still necessary?
No, if we look at the stack here,
No, that's not the stack here.
sorry,
That's not the stack here.
is it back?
Yes.
Way back. Here. Here. Basically, we skipped the System Center part for the APIs. So Virtual Machine Manager is not anymore in the row between the APIs of the cloud API management. It's not in the stack anymore. It's in the stack for the fabric management, of course, if you need to manage your hosts and storage and network, whatever. But it's not in the path anymore between. There's no SPF.
Yeah, so much more logic is going into the Azure Stack. So if you're going to, for example, if you deploy virtual machine, right now Azure Pack was going to trigger VMM to deploy virtual machine. This is gone away. So with Azure Stack, virtual machine, Azure Stack is directly going to talk to the Hyper-V hosts. But you still can use, of course, System Center to manage your Hyper-V hosts. You still have to create clusters, you still have to deploy Hyper-V hosts and everything, so you can still make use of that. But you could also do it with using like PowerShell scripts you did by yourself or something else.
One important thing is the Azure Resource Manager. This is a let's say a flexible, scalable engine to deploy any kind of services and groups of services. And the interesting thing is you can deploy that out of Visual Studio or via PowerShell or within the portal GUI. If you do it with Visual Studio, you can create templates which you can use then on premises as well as on the public version. So these are the same templates you use to deploy any cloud services on Azure, and you will do on premises. This is really the first time you have a consistent architecture and experience from admin as well as for the user side.
So next up, System Center. So what's happening to System Center? If it's not really needed for the Azure Stack anymore and things are going to change, they're still doing some great changes there. There will be a System Center for 2016. There will be there. We need it for some parts as well. But what they're really doing behind that is creating a service hosted in the cloud called Operations Management Suite, which is basically, if you will, a management suite hosted in the cloud. So you don't have to deploy any servers anymore to manage your environment. And right now, it's focused on monitoring solutions, log analyzers, and also some orchestration parts. So you can use, for example, Azure Automation to run runbooks locally. It will also, and that's funny, we put in a picture in there, but it's gone right now. So we're not only managing the on-premise cloud, they're also managing Azure, and they also had Amazon to their management suite. So you can manage different clouds from different vendors with the same tools as you want to. So that's all there, and you can try it out, microsoft.com/OMS. You can log in, you get a free account to start with, and you can try the features, and it's pretty cool.
This is how the end user experience looks like. If you go to the OMS portal, you will have a bunch of dashboards with your aggregated data. You can search, you can create your own dashboards, you can create your own reports. It's really, from my point of view, it's really easy for the end user or for the IT pro in the organization to use it. You don't have to be a report manager, MVP to create those reports. I think the interesting thing is you deploy agents on premises which report or send the data to OMS, and OMS is doing all the fancy analyzing and data gathering and aggregation stuff for you.
I mean, if you have seen, like, we need like around 20 to 30 virtual machines to deploy System Center Management Stack. And if you look at this, you don't even need that stack, right? You're just going to deploy agents on the servers and you're good to go.
I mean, to make it crystal clear here, System Center is not dead. We did not say that at any time because this is dangerous. People get that, oh, Azure Stack System Center is going away. No, that's not the fact. But as you can see, it's not in any path anymore regarding this the cloud, let's say the cloud architecture. Yeah.
Do you feel that this is kind of deja vu with kind of exchange versus the email that's basically cloud-enabled email that we experienced? Remember when kind of internet things started, Microsoft was building exchanges, big elephant, you know, they were competing with Lotus Notes. And it does appear that System Center is going kind of similar route. You have like this monster, you know, with all these moving parts, and all of a sudden there is a possibility for some elegance, you know, because it, yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not talking about the Microsoft stuff, not the Microsoft voice here, but if you look at the products, they started development very, very long time ago. So they're very old products. They have fat client consoles, right? So you don't have any web-based consoles on the System Center components and everything. And if you would design today a management suite, you would do it totally differently.
Yeah. So it's a natural progression. So it's kind of evolution. Okay.
Exactly.
I mean, if you look at the components right now, when you want to redesign a, let's say, configuration manager or ops manager, whatever you want to redesign, you start from scratch. And this is basically why we think that System Center is, let's say, it will be moved to a level where Orchestrator is right now. at some point, not now, but at some point. I mean, it will still exist, it will be supported, it will be there for many, many years from now, from my point of view, but the innovation and the, let's say, the resources they put in development is not there at the mass. It's in, let's say, in the public stack, what in terms of Azure, and in the on-premise stack, it's Azure Stack and the required components for that one. Beside that, of course, the Windows Server SKU with all the new fancy and cool features. This is, of course, the baseline for all this cloud stuff. So you might know that already, but Azure runs on millions of physical servers which run Hyper-V. Every Microsoft Cloud service you use runs on Hyper-V. And that's because your server operating system in 2016 will have much more features than it has right now. And by the way, we have a session in the afternoon on Server 2016, a sneak peek in some of the new features to show you about storage and Hyper-V.
Let's have